Hey guys and gals, it's your buddy Drew with Living History's Mysteries and Ferocious Feline Productions. You know, looking back throughout history, you can't help but find, what's the right word? Odd situations, odd happenings, weird circumstances. For those of us that watch, court TV and those true crime shows and things like that, we often will see the court hearings taking place, and I think you guys could agree that for a court hearing to be a proper hearing, you need the prosecution that brings forth the charges and the questions. You need the defense that defends themselves and answers to the charges brought against them. But what about in a case where the charged cannot defend themselves? What about if it's impossible that they defend themselves? Today we're going to take a look at one such case that took place back in the 9th century, where a pope passes away and the next pope in line brings charges against his predecessor. Can the dead be put on trial? According to history, they can. Check this out. This is good.
In the annals of weird history, there's one courtroom drama that makes the O.J. trial look tame. It's the trial of a dead pope. Yes, dead, as in exhumed, dressed up and propped up in a chair to answer for all of his so-called crimes. Intrigued? Good. What would you do if your greatest enemy just wouldn't stop causing you problems, even after they're dead? If you're Pope Stephen VI, the answer would be obvious. Dig them up and put them on trial. Yes, you heard that right. But before we get to the absurd courtroom drama, let's take a moment to analyze the stakes. Picture a world where alliances shift like sand, where the line between power and ruin is razor thin, and where apparently even death doesn't guarantee you're off the hook. Welcome to the 9th century AD, where political power struggles weren't limited to the living. Today, we're diving into one of the strangest and most absurd episodes in history, the Cadaver Synod. So grab some popcorn, settle in, and prepare for a tale that will make the modern office drama seem downright tame. Let's set the scene. It's the late 9th century in Rome, a time when the Catholic Church was less of a holy sanctuary and more of a battlefield for power-hungry factions. It is a time when the papacy was up for grabs, and political alliances were as fleeting as a Snapchat message. In the middle of this chaos was Pope Formosus, a bishop with a knack for making enemies. He was ambitious, clever, and, depending on who you asked, either a reformer or a schemer. Maybe both. Formosus' rise to power was marked by controversy. He'd been accused of everything from conspiring to overthrow rulers to breaking church law by taking on multiple bishoprics, but despite the drama, he managed to ascend to the papacy in 891. His reign wasn't long, just 5 years. But it was enough to make him a legend. Unfortunately, not the good kind. Now, we jump from 891 to 896. Enter Pope Stephen VI. If Formosus was a controversial figure, Stephen was a full-blown antagonist. Imagine a man so consumed by grudges that even the grave couldn't stop him. After Formosus' death in 896, Stephen became pope and immediately set his sights on discrediting his predecessor. Why? Well, Stephen needed to solidify his shaky authority. And what better way to do that than by exhuming your predecessor's corpse and putting it on trial? Logical, right? Stephen wasn't just motivated by personal hatred, he was also under pressure from powerful factions who wanted Formosus' legacy erased. These factions included regional political leaders tied to the waning Carolingian Empire, who saw Formosus as a threat to their influence. Additionally, ecclesiastical rivals within the church viewed him as a destabilizing figure who had flouted canon law to achieve his goals. By discrediting Formosus after his demise, they aimed to consolidate their power and restore order, at least their version of it, within the church and the broader political landscape. These factions, tied to the political instability of the Carolingian Empire, saw Formosus as a symbol of opposition to their own power. By erasing him, they aimed to strengthen their grip on Rome. And so, in 897, the Cadaver Synod was born. Picture this: the Basilica of St. John Lateran, one of the most important churches in Rome. The clergy are gathered. The atmosphere is tense. And there, seated on a throne, is the exhumed body of Pope Formosus. Yes, he's wearing papal vestments. Yes, he's been dead for months. And yes, everyone is pretending this is completely normal. Stephen VI acts as prosecutor, yelling accusations at the lifeless corpse. The charges? Violating canon law, perjury, and my personal favorite, aspiring to the papacy. To make this even more surreal, a deacon is forced to act as Formosus' defense attorney. Imagine being that guy.
Your Honor, my client would like to plead the fifth, because he's dead.
Stephen VI says,
Formosus, you dare covet the papacy, violating sacred laws?
the deacon, sweating profusely.
Your Holiness, my client humbly requests you consider his current state of decay as proof he's no longer a threat.
Stephen VI,
Silence. Even in death his crimes echo through these halls.
the deacon replies,
With all due respect, Your Holiness, his echo seems to be very quiet these days.
Not surprisingly, the verdict was guilty. Formosus' papacy was declared invalid. His body was stripped of its robes, and his 3 fingers, the ones he used for blessings, were cut off. And as the grand finale, his body was tossed into the Tiber River, because apparently that's how you close a case in the 9th century. But here's the thing about revenge. It doesn't always go as planned. The Cadaver Synod didn't exactly win Pope Stephen VI any fans. In fact, the public was horrified. Desecrating a pope's corpse? Even by medieval standards, that was a bit much. Stephen's political enemies used the trial to turn the tide against him. He was deposed, imprisoned, and, in a twist of karmic justice, strangled in his cell later that year. Meanwhile, Formosus got a posthumous redemption arc. His body was recovered and reburied with honors, and his papacy reinstated. Talk about a comeback. So, why did this happen? At its core, the Cadaver Synod was about power. Stephen VI and his allies wanted to rewrite history, discredit their enemies, and secure their own positions. But in their quest for control, they underestimated just how absurd and unsettling their actions would seem, even to their contemporaries. It's a reminder that history is full of petty acts with serious consequences. And honestly, it's a little comforting to know that political drama isn't just a modern invention. If you think today's scandals are bad, just remember, no one has yanked a dead guy out of his grave and put his corpse on trial. Yet. The Cadaver Synod was a case study in the absurd lengths people will go to for power. It's a story that's equal parts dark comedy and cautionary tale. And while we might laugh at the sheer ridiculousness of it, there's a sobering lesson here. Unchecked ambition combined with a little paranoia can lead to some truly bizarre decisions. So, the next time you're dealing with office politics, take comfort in this. At least no one's digging up your predecessor to accuse them of perjury or of stealing food from the break room fridge. So here's an ounce. Take a lesson or two from this macabre, true tale of desperate quests for power and influence. Lesson 1. If you or someone else has become desperate for power at all costs, it's time to take a vacation. And lesson 2. If things are still the same when you get back from vacation, refer back to lesson 1. And that's it. An ounce submitted for your consideration.